Good afternoon. Thank you for my panel for joining us, and good afternoon to everybody that's joined us today. And of course, if you're watching this on the recorded, they've probably edited out most of what we've already said, but on the basis that they may have left some of it in. Hello, my name is Richard Askam. I'm going to be your host for the next 57 minutes with a bit of Friday afternoon. I think loose talk is probably the way that we'll describe this session, because I'm not a fan of scripts. I'm not a fan particularly of sticking to the rules of the road as far as these sort of events are concerned. So we'll see what comes to us. We'll see what questions you ask, and actually we'll see what questions our panelists ask each other. So I'm kind of looking forward to the next 57 minutes. I've already done a little bit of a background check for you, and I don't mean in a police sense, by the way. I mean actually the actual background. I'm sitting in my office at home in the UK, on the east coast of the UK. I can see that Jonathan is either at home or on the International Space Station. I'm not sure which. Kate is looking very demure at home, I think, and she's organised the photograph. She's done a job. She's done an interior design job for today, and I appreciate her for it. Christian has gone down the politician's route of sitting in front of a bookcase in the hope that it makes him feel and seem more intelligent. We will decide, shan't we, over the next 56 minutes whether that's true.
I can already tell you that those books are all my wife's.
Good answer. Simon has entered the witness protection program and is keeping his face shaded so that we can't see his true identity. Oh, there he's there. That's fine. That's good. Graham is sitting in front of a sign that we can't read because he's sitting in front of it, but there we go. Shameless advertising.
Of course.
You win the prize, Graham. Well done. And Pat appears to be in some kind of Bond villain's lair, and is only short of a white cat, and we're halfway into the next 007 movie. So
have the black dog instead.
Congratulations, all of you, for picking a background. Thank you very much indeed. And talking of background,
mine's real. By the way, that's really my fireplace right behind me.
We believe you, Pat. We believe you. Talking of backgrounds, I think the best people to talk about your backgrounds is you. So I'm going to go around the room and just ask you to introduce yourself, tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what the hell you do. And I'm going to start with Jonathan.
All right. Well, I come from the lineage of Pat, who you'll hear from later. So you'll understand that we're related. That is why the last name's similar. I've worked in print pretty much, well, I grew up in it. So print software specifically. So it is kind of, normal, I guess, at this point that I would work with Solimar Systems, who's in their 30th year doing workflow software for printing. And so that's kind of my background. I also have worked for a number of other companies over the years in hardware and software, both on composition and after composition, or what we like to call post-composition. But I think we lump that all into workflow now. And I love this industry. It's such great people, and we have a lot of fun. So I can't wait to hear people's questions from the panel or, from the audience.
So I've never in my life, Jonathan, started one of these sessions with somebody saying, I come from the lineage of Pat. That sounds like some kind of Disney lineup for the Legend of King Arthur or something. That's brilliant. I'm gonna steal that from somewhere along the line. So thank you for that. But welcome. Let's go to Kate next.
Yeah, I can't beat that, I'm afraid, Jonathan. So I'm Kate Black. I'm the founder and CTO of Meta Additive, which is a novel jetting 3D printing company. I'm also a senior lecturer at the School of Engineering at the University of Liverpool here in the UK. And I'm currently on sabbatical so that I can focus on the spin-out company. So the research that I did at Liverpool has spun out to Meta Additive, and I come at things from a chemistry point of view, even though I'm in an engineering department.
Okay, so I would say for my summary of that is don't ask you anything that I don't already know the answer to, because you've completely bamboozled me with technical know-how. So
I'm sure not.
Simon, good afternoon.
Hi, Richard. So yeah, my name's Simon Daplyn. I'm the product and marketing manager for Sun Chemical. So I've been at Sun since July last year after the acquisition of Sensient Technology. So I have a background in chemistry and ink, predominantly in textiles, packaging, and food printing applications.
Okay, that's a very good reason why you are in the witness protection program, I would imagine.
Yeah, and for the first time it's ever been a problem, it's blazing sunshine here, so
yeah. Well, we talked about that a little, didn't we, before we came on, that we've all largely wintered through those dark days where we need artificial light, and today the universe has delivered to us, but it doesn't necessarily help. It has to be said, as it turns out. So, Christian, I'm going to come to you next.
Yeah, hello. Good afternoon. My name is Christian Weyer. I'm the Managing Director Technology from Zaikio. I don't come from a print lineage, but at least we come from the city of Gutenberg, which is Mainz. But that was like 600 or 800 years ago. Usually my sentence ends there, but now I can say, and we also invented that COVID vaccine, right? So after 800 years, something great coming from Mainz. And hopefully Zaikio also can be found somewhere in that line someday. What we are doing is, compared to those feats, of course, rather simple. We are trying to digitize the print industry by building a platform that connects everything with everything. So we want to connect machinery, we want to connect software to other software systems, and we want to connect printers to suppliers, because we believe that in the ongoing 21st century, printers shouldn't really worry about whether software components can talk to each other. We need to fix that on a software to software vendor level, and the printers should enjoy the fruits of their labor.
Interesting. And the lineage count is now up to 2. So thank you for that. Again, nobody had any money on that. So I appreciate it. Thank you. And I actually used to work not far away from Mainz many years ago in the Moselle Valley in the wine industry. So I know that part of the world. It's beautiful. So
beautiful place over there.
Absolutely is. And it's interesting that you're laying claim to the vaccine, of course, because as we all know, that was the British that did that. Let's
of course, yes. The other one.
Success has many fathers, except when it's really good success, and then it's the British. Just saying. So, Graham, let me come to you.
Well, I'm not going to counter the British, considering our main facility in the UK. If I talk bad about them at all, I'm sure I'll get my lashes afterwards. I come from an equipment background, so engineer by degree, and found myself in a position where I'm heading up our US operations here for Industrial Inkjet. Got a small team here where we do digital print engines that mount onto existing or new equipment. So sounds like we've got some software and ink people on the panel, and I get the pleasant being the equipment guys, but I'll have to watch out so I don't say anything wrong from an engineering standpoint. Otherwise, Kate's going to whack me.
Exactly. Yeah, we all know that now, so we'll just steer around that. That's absolutely fine. And finally, and last but not least, of course, the last time I saw this lady, we were singing Christmas carols around the table just outside of Copenhagen. I think probably a couple of years ago, Pat, now?
Yeah, so yeah, because we missed last year's adventure because of stuff. Yeah.
Well, Pat, introduce yourself to the world.
So, hi, everybody. I'm Pat McGrew. Yes, I'm responsible for Jonathan, who swore to me the whole time he was growing up he was not coming into this industry because it was boring, by the way. I have been working around print since I was 16. I started in a factory that had been in business from the 1700s, not old by European standards, old by Pennsylvania standards. And learned to spot ruby lith and do photomechanical transfers, and began on hot lead typesetting, moved into photocomp when that became a thing, worked my way partly through college doing typesetting. I am really a writer by trade, but along the way in writing technical manuals and in a number of different industries, I landed back in the print industry back in the 80s, working on the first VDP programs for the insurance industry, merged data directly into file formats that then, printed all this variable content. The insurance industry was an early adopter of the technology because of the volumes they put out. Owned a company for 10 years that did high-speed printer data stream transforms. That was good fun. Worked with the Adobe team. John Warnock used to help us with our programming on our PDF output products. Sold the company. That code is still in existence and is now part of OpenText, just like everything else software in the industry, it seems at times. For the last 20 years, I've mostly been working with people who buy inkjet hardware and then try to figure out how to make money with it. It's not easy. No matter how much you think you know about your business as a printer, when one of these machines comes into your life, they're big, they're fast, they're hungry, they don't like to stop. And sometimes it can be frustrating to change your business model, change your team's, attitudes. So that's what I've been really doing for the last 20 years. I currently am McGrew Group because a year ago, the company I was working for, which is a market research company, had a change in ownership and let a lot of people go right as the COVID thing was starting. And what the heck, start a new company. And it's been lovely ever since, because it means that for the last year, I've gotten to play with everybody I love. So it's been absolutely brilliant. I'm not constrained by being owned by a logo. So that's my universe. And yep, I'm here in beautiful Denver, where as I look out, it is bright blue sky.
Well, there's the weather from Pat. So thank you very much. And I'm not sure whether the job of a host is to really listen to what my guests are saying, because all I can hear was, I grew up in the 1700s. Did I miss something? No,
that's you're right. That I'm probably the oldest one sitting here, right?
She looks pretty good for that. I mean, 1700s.
I was going to say that, but that's a son's job to say that. So well done. You get to stay another night in the house.
There you go. Yeah.
Good. So thank you, Pat. Always a pleasure to see you. So my guests this afternoon, I thought I would throw the big question in first, and really let's see what you all think, because we can't avoid the topic. So we might as well just dive straight in. And it's not about the Denver Broncos, you'll be pleased to know. It is obviously about the pandemic and what it's done and what it's doing and what it will go on to do largely for the industry. So this is the sort of the big thinking question. How has it affected each of you? How do you see it affecting the industry as a whole? And really, what does the comeback look like? Because I think we're all a little bit sick to death of what it's been doing to us. What is it going to do to our world within the industry that you think is going to revolutionize where we've all come from? I'm going to start with Kate.
Okay, so I set up Meta Additive in October 2019, and so people were saying to me, why the hell have you set up a company in a global pandemic? Which I was a little bit nervous about, obviously, as I started, but it's been okay, actually, for us. It's allowed us to take stock on what's happening. But I think what COVID has taught us is that we need more people like the additive manufacturing industry, the 3D printing industry, because these are the ones that can change things around, are quick to market, can bring out new designs. Particularly in the UK, we've seen that we needed that. We need to look at our manufacturing and how we do things. And we needed to be quicker to respond to some of the issues that COVID caused. So I see printing, whether it be 2D or 3D, as being one of the ones that will come out well from this. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for us to grow and do things differently.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Graham, do you largely agree with Kate's point?
Yeah, no, I think so completely. Because we've seen, a move to shorter run, quicker changeover, people bringing, more distributed production and bringing things in house, which we've definitely seen a growth of. And one of the areas that we've focused a lot of our development on is the decor industries. And a lot of those businesses are booming with everyone, working from home and updating their houses and making sure their living spaces are that much nicer. We've really seen a lot of growth in those types of areas. So there's been certain markets that have done quite well throughout this pandemic, and digital is well positioned to bring the capabilities that those markets need. So we've seen a lot of activity, and I expect it to increase, actually.
Here's a bit of a random question then, just off the back of that. Do you think, and I all due respect to the sort of fallout from the pandemic, but do you think it has almost helped consumers see the print industry for what it's capable of, rather than what it used to be known for? In other words, you're talking about short run. We've been trying to get people to get their heads around that for some time. Has the pandemic actually done that for us?
Yeah, it's caused people to kind of rethink how they approach things. And very much through that reevaluation, again, it highlights the benefits of digital technology. And some of the drawbacks are less significant now, especially relative to the other stuff. So, I know in the UK there was someone said the good side of the pandemic, and they got skewered online. So I can't say that, but I can say that one of the outcomes of it has been that reevaluation that tends to highlight the digital capabilities.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Simon, what about you? What's your thoughts on the bigger picture?
Yeah, like the others, I think in industry dependent. We've had different experiences. So if you're in packaging or decor or perhaps home textile, those have come out pretty well. I mean, packaging has actually potentially increased. I mean, we're all receiving boxes at home, right, rather than going into shops. So what they call it, the box opening experience, means people are printing on boxes. The box needs to look more than just a brown box. So those kind of industries have gone pretty well. Commercial print has died. So that's basically it's been pretty badly hit. And then you get areas like textile and fast fashion, where probably what will ultimately happen is it's accelerated the move to digitalization, because a bunch of brands and retailers got caught with huge volumes of inventory either on a boat or in China or somewhere in Asia and for European markets, and then none of us went shopping. So all the kind of winter clothes for last year, they're trying desperately to sell now because no one sold anything last year and they had all the inventory. So that this kind of reshoring concept is coming closer. There's still a lot of reliance on Asia, but I think some of the newer technologies that allow quicker turnaround times, faster response to the customer, producing closer to the customer so that you can see what's buying, print more of it, sure, rather than relying on kind of big inventory, is definitely a trend that
yeah, no, it's interesting you mentioned packaging, because it's not that many years ago I was stood up in front of a room full of box makers in Barcelona at HP's research center saying, stop advertising that company fragile. And start using the box as a product, and it was like, don't know about that, but here we are, and again, what are the changes maybe? Jonathan, I'm going to come to you next. What's your view on the bigger picture?
Well, so coming from software, like literally, I remember the insurance company that she wrote the manuals for. What I would say is that we have had a propensity in this industry, in the print and communications industry, for how we do things. We're comfortable with how our businesses run, our print businesses, how we buy equipment. And a lot of times we would throw people at problems because we needed to get work done. And what I've really seen with the outcomes of what has happened over the last 12 to, even before that, though we were seeing shifts, but the last 12 months or so with COVID, what I've seen is that we couldn't throw people at the problem. There were a lot of businesses that they had to go to remote working, or they had to have, less people on their floors. They had to run more shifts, more rotations. And in talking to a lot of our customers, that's what challenged them. There was no disaster recovery plan that had a situation where they couldn't use labor to fix it, even if it cost them a lot of money. And so what I think it's done, to even to Graham's point, is pulled us out of our comfort zone and made us face the facts that technology and the world have presented us challenges and opportunities. So I think as we come out of it, we have opportunities to future-proof our business. And since this is FuturePrint, that's a really, good thing to do. But I think there are a lot of people who said, oh no, I don't need to fix that part of my print business, whether it's their onboarding, the way they manage their work, getting it to the printer, the way they manage their delivery, the way they print and offer new products, because I can handle it. I can handle the one-offs, I can handle the manual work. So I really think this has been that sea change that says maybe that isn't sustainable when you can't go into your business with your crew, with your staff.
That's a very good point, actually, because you can pretty much guarantee that most disaster recovery plans that have ever been written start with the word "get another man, get another van," and let's see how we go from there. And of course, couldn't do that one. Christian, you must have seen it slightly differently, I guess, from your end of the industry. How are you, how are you seeing the bigger picture?
Yeah, so I would really concur with Jonathan. What we've seen is that people realize that in many cases their data is locked in a geographical thing like a print shop, and it doesn't have to be, right? So before we started Zaikio, we used to be an MIS vendor, which we still are, right? We have an MIS product which is completely cloud-based, and our customers just kept working the way they always worked because the data was available in the cloud. And this is where we've seen a huge shift that this seems to become more and more requirement. 5 years ago, I had to explain people why their data isn't, underneath their desk on some old server or something like that. And now people have to explain why data isn't in the cloud. And I think that's really great because it really creates a platform on which A, we can be more productive because it doesn't matter where we are, and B, where all the data is available so that we can use automation to finally free humans from stupid, repetitive cognitive tasks that they have to perform every single day these days, right? I always say we are working with computers for 40 years in our offices, but we haven't even come close to actually using them right. Because so much processes have been invented that only make work harder and keep us away from the creative work that a computer cannot solve, right? So this is, in my opinion, a very good start. And the second thing that I noticed was we were building the Zaikio platform. We started basically right in the middle of the pandemic. And naturally, since we are connecting millions of partners, we have to talk to a lot of partners. And before COVID, 50% or 70% of those partners would have expected me to show up in person. And I would have wasted precious time and resources sitting in planes. And now suddenly I just could talk to all of them via Zoom. And guess what? We made a lot of deals and we have a lot of partners on the platform, albeit I've never seen them. Actually, like 30% of my own team, I have never met in person, right? And this isn't really necessary. We've always been a remote company. And now I think many other companies also learn to work remotely. And of course, there is nothing bad about the occasional beer in some bar after the project has been finished or as a project kickoff. But I'd say 80% of the meetings, you just don't have to be there in person. And there was really a huge acceleration for what we wanted to do, if you want to view that as a positive aspect of this whole pandemic.
So you're actually one of those consequential beneficiaries, really, where the behavior of the majority has caught up with where you actually were anyway.
It seems so, yes.
Okay. Well, do you know what? It happens. I mean, it's such an unbalanced situation, I think, for all businesses that I've got friends in the packaging industry, flexo packaging, that are largely feeling guilty. It's like survivor guilt that they've had the best year of business that they've ever had. And they daren't tell anybody because it feels as though you've been profiting off the misery of others, but it's not their fault. It just so happened to benefit them. And I guess the same is true with your company, Christian, is that actually what you wanted to happen has now largely started to happen.
It certainly came much quicker. And we also see something similar among our customers, right? We have commercial printers as customers that have really been hit pretty hard by this. We also have book printers as customers, and they print as many books as they've never printed before, right? So it's really shifting. And I think that the overall size of the print business will not shrink by that much. It will more be that inside the business, there will be shifts, right, towards packaging. Gaming is also something that is growing incredibly. We have like 3 customers now, I think, that are specialized in printing game boards, nothing else, which increased like 1,000-fold in the last 12 months. So and I think we need to have to provide tools to all the printers to have that kind of flexibility, right? When circumstances change, they must adapt quickly. Yeah. And if you don't have the software infrastructure to support you, then this is going to be a pretty hard job.
That's a very good point. And Pat, if I can come to you, I mean, you probably across more of those sectors that Christian mentioned than most in terms of understanding the moving parts, if you like. In response to the bigger picture question, Pat, where do you see the winners and the losers?
So a funny thing happened, as the COVID reality started to set in and companies started to look for the strategy to get through to the other side. to Kate's point, I think a lot of innovation happened on a much shorter time frame because we found that we weren't on planes all the time, to Christian's point, because we found that we weren't traveling and sitting in cars and on trains. We were actually dedicating ourselves to doing the thing that we do. And so innovation was able to move at a much faster pace. And the innovation has touched every industry. I'll disagree with Simon a little bit about the death of commercial printing. That hasn't been what I'm seeing. Most of the last 9 months, I've been working on projects that have been deep dives into corrugated packaging, folding carton, label, and then, my traditional world of direct mail, transaction, and commercial. And I've seen a lot of commercial printers pivot their offerings to support people working from home, people looking for leisure reading that doesn't involve a screen. So commercial book printers and also magazines have started to grow again, right? Catalogs, which we thought were dead, and despite the fact that IKEA killed theirs, catalogs are coming back. Now, they tend to be smaller, maybe a little bit more bespoke. They might look and feel a little bit different, but cataloging is growing like crazy, and it's everywhere in the world. It's not just North America, it's not just Europe. So for me, what it's done is it's accelerated a lot of things in our industry, a lot of industrial design, a lot of new inks, a lot of new platforms. I love the things that are happening in software. I love the Zaikio platform because I love the anything to anything approach. I think that opens the door to all that industry 4.0 stuff that we were dreaming about, back in 2014, 15, 16, that seemed to be taken forever. It was like slogging through molasses to get machine vendors to actually put sensors on their machines. It was taken forever for people to embed in their software the ability to pass data logically and reliably and not in a proprietary format. The last year has proven to us that you can't live that way. You've got to live in a more open world if you want to grow your business. And printers, I think, look, some of them are never going to change, Richard. Some of them are going to keep on doing stuff with people moving paper and physically filling out job tickets, God bless them, and putting them into envelopes and printing using, Gutenberg level presses. That's always going to be out there in our industry. But the people who are really growing, I mean, I know some commercial printers who are thriving right now. A lot of them went out of business. No L&P people who are thriving. No, some went out of business. So for me, it's a study in what happens when everybody gets forced to sit at home for a year.
See, that's a really good point, and that actually is going to form the basis of my next question. And I must just apologise to Sabine, who's very rapidly typing questions into the chat, as I asked you to, and I haven't asked any of them yet, but I will do. So trust me, don't stop asking, Sabine, please. But just to your last point there, Pat, and I guess this is where all of us on this call and everybody watching is having the same experience. Typically, when you have recessionary factors that drive change in an industry, it's geographically different. You get a recession in the US, you get a boom in Europe. You get a boom in the Far East, you get a recession in Europe. So there is never the opportunity to have widespread change. So here we are in a situation where, as a live test, somebody's gone, I know, let's turn the planet off and turn it back on again and see what happens. And so we've all had to change at the same time. And that's driven, I think it was Jonathan's point, it's driven innovation like you wouldn't believe. Because it's largely out of fear, I have to say. I mean, I spend my life as a speaker at events. No events. What are you going to do? So you've got to your way. Well, quite. Yeah. So between you, I'm going to come back to Jonathan, I think, to start with. In looking at the uniqueness of this worldwide recessionary moment, or let's call it the turn it off and turn it on again moment, how much value do you see for the industry in being forced to change, not just planning to?
I think we will look back and see it. I think it's hard when you're in the middle of it because it's so devastating for a lot of people, whether you're being successful or not. You talked about what's basically survivor guilt. You know, being successful off the back of tragedy is hard to deal with in itself. But I think we will look back on this in a number of ways, in a number of industries, not just print, and say, this was like the Renaissance era. This was like when computers started to change our lives, because there was a time where we didn't always could be attached to things. I think we will have to balance that with how do we still provide innovative, interesting products in the industry that meet the brief of the people they're going to. I don't think that'll change, but I think how we meet that brief is going to be forever changed. I think it's really positive, but I don't think we would have done it on our own. If you go back to like an ice age kind of problem, you know, the planet wouldn't have changed without major change in and of itself. I think this is the same kind of thing that we're seeing in these industries, is that we needed a catalyst. And while this catalyst was not pleasant, out of great challenges comes great innovation. And I think we're seeing that. And it's amazing to see it, like you said, across the world, because we work at Solimar, we work all over the world with all sorts of partners, hardware manufacturers and software partners and customers. And what I will tell you is that every single one of them has changed how they look at their markets, what they think customers need. And the one other thing I'd add to that is they really want that personal relationship again, though. So while I agree with Christian and Pat that we've being stuck at home for a year might have been good, there needs to be a balance in that as well. And hopefully as we get healthier as a world, we will get a nice balance in there. So we're not on planes all the time as the 100%, because I think maybe that balance tipped too far one way. But we have a lot of our customers who feel they need to show us what they're doing, and it's not a camera and it's not a video crew coming in. They really want to show us what's happening so that they can solve their problems. And so I think that scale is going to keep tipping too, if I might just add that in there.
That's a really interesting point. And of course, with travel, everybody thinks travel's glamorous. Anybody that thinks travel's glamorous hasn't traveled, because it's just standing in different queues in different countries. And
if you have lots of money and you're a superstar and you don't have anywhere to be on time, I mean, you're retired and you're not even doing a movie, you're just traveling because you have lots of money. Travel's amazing.
Yeah, but Pat once told me it gets turbulent in first class as well. I've never been there, so I don't know. But
it's first class is valuable at times when you're trying to get work done because you can actually open your laptop.
There is
right.
That.
Whereas in economy, I'm short, but when the guy in front of me or the gal in front of me sets their chair back to take a snooze, I can do nothing.
So hang on,
because I can't open my laptop.
I've got a question here then, Pat. Sorry to digress. I'm 6'5".
Yeah.
Let's say you're not.
So I'm not.
Next time we go somewhere, if you book first class, and then I have your seat, and I book economy and you have mine, but I get one of those ones with the extra laptop. Basically, we can switch. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying if we're on the same plane, I'll trade every other hour with you.
Deal. I'll take that.
Done deal.
It's been recorded. Thank you, Marcus. Play that one back for the
There you go.
Kate, I'm just going to come back to you because I saw your hand go up there. So apologies. I did spot it.
No, it's okay.
But I think in the context of what we're talking about with this turning it on and turning it off again, you're probably the newest company on the boardwalk on this call today. So you probably haven't had to deal with the massive shift. But I suspect that it still feels like a quantum shift as far as you're concerned. What's your thoughts on it?
It does, and I think it was a jolt to the whole world, and that's why a lot of creativity and new things have come out of it. But I think we need to be mindful that we don't slip into it a lull because of the fact that it's almost like Zoom fatigue, if you like. Although, it's great to meet some new people, but maybe it's just me. I mean, it's nice to see you all with a frame around you, but I'd much rather see you in person, be able to, you're not working as hard to pick up the non-verbal cues as you do when you're on a Zoom. What do you do if you're new into an area and you don't know where these people are? you're not going to meet the new people on a Zoom as best as they've managed to do it over the last year and a half, doing these virtual things. It's not the same as going to see people face to face. So how do new collaborations appear? How do you keep that going? So there needs, and I think, Jonathan, you said this, there needs to be a fine balance of that. This is what's COVID has shown us what we can do, and we need to keep that togetherness and connection, but there's nothing better than a true face-to-face connection. So yeah, I agree. Let's not use planes so much. Not all the meetings need to be in person, but sometimes they do. And sometimes they cement true new working relationships and new innovations come out of that.
And what's interesting, Kate, actually is, and I think probably, or hopefully you will all agree with me, that the interesting snippets that you pick up when you're at face-to-face things is really what you're overhearing at the bar. At the end of the day, and it's that little thing. And of course, on Zoom, you can't say, "Oh, you're on mute. I can't eavesdrop on you." It doesn't quite work that way, does it?
Or feeling that you can speak, because some people don't feel like they can speak when they're on Zoom and there's lots of people, right. So they remain quiet. So you never get to know what they're thinking. I know for certain you'd probably be laughing at this and thinking, no, she's quite loud. Hell, what was she like before? But I'm quite a vocal person when I see people in a meeting, but I can gauge when it's okay to butt in. It's less so this, and I've noticed that I've said a lot less than I would normally say. Some people think, thank God for that. But I think it changes.
It's interesting, isn't it? It's an entirely different social etiquette. That we are still in its infancy, albeit a relatively long time now, but we are still a little bit finding our way of when to sort of butt in and what have you, which you don't normally, as you say, you don't normally have that at live events. And Christian, if I can come to you on that, because you said in your answer to the previous question that you've been remote working for a long time. This isn't new to you. In fact, it's pretty much normal, I would imagine, on any given day. Are you seeing from others their reaction to your normality in a different light, or have you just literally sailed through this like it was just another day of the week?
Yeah, so for us, I would say that back in the day, if we did job interviews, of course, we would invite the person to our office and talk face to face, because I also agree it's easier to get a feeling for how a person is if you meet them in real life. But apart from that, it actually has been just another day at the office. Crispy Mountain was founded in 2013. And since then, we've always have been distributed. Right now, we are 23 people scattered across all of Europe. We have our communication tools. And what we actually did was we gave a lot of advice to our colleagues because Zaikio is owned by Heidelberg. And Heidelberg still had a little bit of different culture. And they are rapidly adapting. It's incredible how quickly they've changed in that regard. And so we provided a bit of consulting over there. But I would even go further. When I grew up, we played computer games with people from all over the world, and we chatted like when I was 12. That was just normal, right? And what those tools, I'm using the exact same tools for work today. So I don't know any other life. And there was one remarkable thing. My boss said the other week, you know what, if COVID is over, we could go to the US and we could do a tour and meet many new partners. And I could stay there for 2 or 3 months and have an extended vacation, and I could still work, I was like, yeah, so what's the big deal about this, right? We've done vacations since forever. So basically, back before I had kids, I was in Portugal once a year. And the only thing we needed is a laptop and an internet connection. But of course, that is not possible with every single job. But I believe that we can add such a component to most jobs, right? And for that, we need cloud-based software. We need software that talks to each other. Now we are getting back at the circle of connectivity, right? And of course, the printer, the person that operates the printing machine, it's pretty hard for them to sit on some beach somewhere, right? They have to be in front of the press. But most people in the office, they don't have to be there every day. And I believe that some people prefer to be in the office every day. That is perfectly fine. Other people prefer to never be in the office. That's also perfectly fine if the job allows it. And I hope that what we get out of this pandemic is that most people at least have the choice to do either this or either that. from time to time. And in order to do that and really allow that, I think we have to bring software in the print industry to the next level, because that is the basic tools that need to be in place. And without them, there is no remote freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, and 100% agree on that. I think the hybrid model is something that everybody's kind of looking forward to having the benefits of, rather than suffering from. And the only thing I disagree with you there, Christian, is probably you were 12 years old more recently than I was. So I'm just going to disagree with you on principle more than anything else. So I ought to go to some of these questions, because Sabine is going to just leave if we're not careful. So I'm going to ask these questions. Feel free to put your hand up who wants to take it. How much do you think the AM industry will impact print and moreover packaging? And where do you see the chances and opportunities, but also the downsides? Who wants to take that?
I'll go with that if you want. Yeah, so I was going to say at the beginning, really, I think we're talking about connectivity. I still feel that the 2D print world and the 3D print world are two worlds apart, and they need to start to migrate together. And that's exactly what Meta Additive does. It came out of a 2D application that then has moved into a 3D application. And I think there's so much more that we can invent and explore, new devices that we'd never even thought of and applications that we haven't thought of. But those two communities in particular need to start talking together. That smart packaging that maybe those AM components are in, can we have embedded smart functionality, so printed strain gauges, electronics embedded in the 3D structure of the component. With that needs to be a radical change in the way that we look at materials, how we process materials, the heads that we use. I give a talk earlier on today about the future of 3D printing using a ZAR head and why that works. And it's breaking down those silos and breaking down those barriers, getting a common language between the two disciplines, because there's so many synergies between the two, yet they've, for some reason, I'm new to both areas, really. I was an ALD CVD chemist about 6-7 years ago, and I came in and thought, why can't we do this in 2D and 3D? And then it wasn't until I started speaking to people that there was a real division there. And I think that division needs to move. I think COVID has helped that. More people have started to talk to different types of people. But I think AM could have a real new lease of life for printing and vice versa, but they're going to have to start speaking to each other and making changes to their software, their hardware, their print heads, the machines that they're in, everything.
Yeah.
Kate, I'm going to have, for those people watching this that don't know what Sabine asked, can you define AM real quick? Because I just feel like on these, when we use jargon is always fun.
Yeah, so AM stands for additive manufacturing. So people would know it as 3D printing. If you want to get technical about it, 3D printing is a type of additive manufacturing. All it means is a component that is manufactured layer by layer. So it could be an inkjet head printing a polymer glue onto a powder bed. It could be a laser shining into a polymer resin, or a laser shining into a powder bed of metal, polymer, you name it, but it's a layer by layer process. What we're seeing this year is the year of something called binder jet printing. This is something that is close to my heart and part of Meta's forte. Is binder jet printing is printing of polymers or glues onto powder beds. That could be a polymer, ceramic, or a metal. And inkjet printing, the head manufacturers, this is where it comes from. If we don't have the heads to do it, we don't have the software to control those, get your CAD design, it's going to have multi-materials in there. How do you tell your CAD design and your machine and the head where those materials need to be? It's all down to software. If you don't have the right materials, then you've got nothing. So it's that connection between all of those parties that need to come together more coherently than it has to.
Sorry, you said you were quieter on Zoom, Kate.
Yeah. Can you imagine what I'm like in real life? Eh?
I'm genuinely looking forward to it, I have to tell you now. We've got another question here in the Q&A from Dean. For more than 20 years, I have supported businesses worldwide. Video has helped a lot for communications with those who interact, but for getting to the root cause, I have not found an alternative to talking to the people who actually do the work, run the machines, and are not invited to the meetings. I'd like Christian's advice on addressing that. So, Mr. Virtual, how do you address that question from Dean?
So I regularly go to printers and talk to the people on the machine. Because there is, as you say, there is no substitute for that. I think that the good thing is that we actually used to be an MIS company, right? So we are coming from those roots, and it is perfectly right. The purchasing decision about a software is always made in the boardroom. The people who make a software project successful are the ones on the shop floor. If they don't like you, if they don't like the software, they will make it go away. And they are way more powerful than the managers. They always have them, right? And the central question must always be, how can we help those people? So I believe that is a common misconception when we talk about automation or how we can improve connectivity or computing. It's not about removing the humans, right? And everybody who says that is vastly overestimating what computers can do, right? I'm actually a neuroscientist, more or less by trade, or a medical doctor with a focus on neurology. And this artificial intelligence, it is not even artificial intelligence, right? It's just applied statistics. So computers are really good at being fast. Computers really suck at being creative. And it will take a long time until they become creative. Maybe they'll never become creative, right? And the problem that I see in most industries is that right now, most people are stuck with problems that could be easily automated and then don't have the time to work on the creative problems. And we call them customer consultants in the print industry, right? But how much of their time are customer consultants currently spending consulting customers? 20%, 30%? The rest is writing quotes, ordering materials, making sure that the CAD model is correct, right? And that you get all the materials from some different suppliers and sources. That is all bullshit that could be automated. I'm sorry for saying it, that, pardon my French, but
it's not
it's just,
don't worry.
Okay. So you can beat me, right? So this is just, it's just ridiculous. We are wasting so much time with processes that could easily be automated, and we are investing so little time in processes that have to be human, like building a relationship to your customer, actually also visiting your customer, talking to them, right? I don't believe that everything will be ordered through web portals or something like that. I think that if we do the computing part right, we will give human beings back the time to foster the relationships, because that is something computers cannot do. And that is basically the root of what we're doing at Zaikio. By forcing connectivity, we want to remove the stupid tasks and give everybody more time for the interesting ones.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And Pat, I'm going to come to you on that. I wanted to come to you 5 seconds ago when you were staring out the window and try and catch you out, but I didn't quite get that timing right. So, but your thoughts. I mean, I know you love the relationship that is born between human beings and printers, customers. Call them what you like. But where do you see the balance lying between the shift towards technology and the behavioural change that has to come from the people behind that?
So I'm a big fan of Christian's approach to it. I think that, if you know your subject matter and you understand the people and the processes that are in the workflow, you come to understand pretty quickly that the description that Christian gave us, board guy by, somebody signed a check for a piece of software, the production team can sabotage that pretty quickly. I see it all the time. So for me, I like the hybrid approach. I've had to do some workflow assessments via Zoom, and we got them done, and we put some value to them, but it showed me how important it was to be able to wander through and watch how processes were happening, and standing on a production floor at 3 o'clock in the morning with the third shift to see how they were really operating versus what the rules said they were doing, because it never matches, and how problem jobs were being managed versus how, the rules say there are no problem jobs, but then, there always are. So I'm looking forward to the hybrid world. I mean, there are a lot of things I get done by Zoom that I wouldn't have thought of doing before, but I can't wait to be able to stand on that production floor at 3 o'clock in the morning. or to stand, over a beer with you in a pub somewhere in the world, talking about, things we just saw happen in a corrugated shop or an AM shop. That there are, never discount the value of human connection.
Yeah.
But let's be smarter going forward and not feel like we have to live on a plane to do our job.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't miss the little bags of peanuts for a second, it has to be said.
Oh, no.
Simon, we said earlier on the call that you got 2 young children at home, so I'm pretty sure, A, you're looking forward to schools going back, but B, getting back out into the world. How do you think your hybrid life will evolve over the coming months?
Yeah, the travel can't come soon enough, but no, it's been great to spend the time, but the hybrid working is, I guess, what it really did is highlight who some of the key employees of a company like ours are. So if you're an ink manufacturer, it's not people like me that can sit behind my laptop wherever I am in the world. It's the guys making it, often considered kind of the lower level employees, right? But they're the guys that have to be in the factory every single day, mixing it, filtering it, getting it packed and shipped. And as with all these industries that were booming, like packaging, they need us to be operating to run. So the amount of work we did to keep those guys safe and keep the rest of us away to keep them safe allows that. Then the connection with the guys on the machines is the challenging part. And what it really relies on is you having field service guys that intimately know their job and the machines and have listened to the customers in the field over the years, so that when the customer calls up and you can't go and see what the problem is on the machine, that you can support in some way remotely and hybridly. So for an ink company, it's kind of key that we are able to travel in a way, get in front of those customer machines, help them solve the problems, because I don't know, 70-80% you can potentially do remotely, but there's always kind of nuances of what happens on the machine and how we kind of are able to support customers doing that.
Yeah, no, 100% agreed. And Graham, I'm guessing the same is true for you in the inkjet world as well, that there will always be the need for that blend, but I guess it's validated to a certain extent what Simon was just saying. Some of it can be done remotely. Now everybody believes that it's possible. Do you expect the same to be true?
Yeah, it's interesting because all of these ideas tend to blend together. I'm an equipment guy, so I love touching, feeling. A lot of times you troubleshoot a machine by listening to it, and it turns out that just doesn't work by Zoom. So all these ideas work together, and it's all about efficiencies. I'll tell you, I look forward to the day where you can shake someone's hand and look them in the eye, as a proper sign of respect, and it's okay. I don't think I'll ever get around to a fist bump, just being a proper greeting. But I'm a little bit older than Christian is, I think so. And all of that feeds together, because when Kate was talking about the marrying of the 2D and the 3D, we just get a different emotional connection to things that we can touch, feel, see texture from. It just creates a different response. And the screen is you're just never gonna connect with people the same way over a video monitor or anything like that. And so all of this wrapping together, as we look at generally improving efficiencies of how we do things, that's where digital fits directly into it. And it's both a hardware component with inkjet and new printing technologies, and it's a software component in automating workflows, automating tasks, just generally improving people's operating efficiency.
Excellent point. You're never going to guess what. We've got 4 minutes left. I can't believe an hour has just gone by like that. This is how much we miss shooting the breeze, really, with proper human beings on a Friday afternoon, which is lovely. So I'm going to ask you all to be very, very brief with the final answer to the final question. And it really is almost a bit of an opinion more than an answer. There's going to be companies that come out of this and sectors that come out of this quicker than others. The question is, which sector do you think will be the fastest to respond? Jonathan.
Honestly, I think it's going to be labels and packaging. To me, I just think that with the way we're ordering stuff and the need to capture people's attention, I think that'll be it. I'll leave it there. I'm not normally that brief, so I'm going to surprise everyone.
That's impressive. Well done. Simon.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think the packaging industry is kind of looking and responding, and the need for bespoke things, personalized packaging, personalized experience with food and items like that. I think that's probably the one that will bounce out quickest.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Yeah, Kate.
Probably software. I think there's lots of good software stuff coming out in 2D and 3D print.
Okay, thank you. You're all being remarkably brief. Well done. Graham, what's your view?
I agree with all the points before, but I'm going to add decor as well. You know, as we look at more sustainable processes and people customizing their spaces, that'll be a market that's going to see a lot of growth over the coming years.
Yeah, no, good point. Christian, I've got a fairly strong bet what you're going to say, but let's see whether you prove me right.
I'm not going to say software. I think that the software market has always been, or since a longer time, on this trajectory, right? Everybody knows where we have to go in terms of architecture. It's just now a question of making it happen. And I believe that the pandemic helped to make it happen faster. But I would also say that the print industry is super diverse. And there are, as I said earlier, smaller areas like board game production or book production that also see incredible growth. And also what I personally see every single day is the suppliers, because they realize that digital procurement processes are very important for them and very important for their customers. And we've seen a lot of movement over there. So I have the feeling that many suppliers are using this opportunity to really improve their processes.
No, good point. And Pat, seeing as we've established earlier on that you are at least 300 years old, I'm going to let you have the final word on this.
Oh, thank you. I do appreciate that. So for me, it's all about, I think there are winners in every single segment that's been mentioned. I think there are winners in transaction printing and in direct mail printing and in commercial printing, all the packaging, but I think it all comes down to supply chain optimization and the software and the processes that support that. No matter what industry you're in, if you can optimize your supply chain, optimize your processes, you will be a winner no matter which one of these segments you're in.
You should have been a Denver Broncos cheerleader. In fact, I would imagine you probably were at some point. So thank you for that. And thank you to all of you this afternoon. It's been lovely chatting. Thanks for spending the time with me. We're the last event of the week. I think it's been another great FuturePrint virtual summit. Well done to Fraser and to Marcus for pulling this all together. Thank you very much if you joined us. I'm sorry we couldn't get to so many of your questions. We were too busy chatting. But wherever you are, we hope you stay safe and be happy. And we really, really look forward to seeing you somewhere in person very soon. My name's Richard Askam. Thank you for joining us today and have a lovely weekend.